Good day. Hello, CJ. Hello, CW. What a morning. Been running ever since I got up. Today is January 30th, 2025. And thanks be to Dan. Yeah, so I realized I hadn't scheduled the live for today yet. So I apologize for last minute. But we got it in there. I was looking at what we were going to study and trying to think about how badly I need a haircut. All right. So let's get started with Good Day Rising prayers. And we're going to talk about, I'm going to actually read the law, HJR 192 of 1933, that I keep mentioning so that you can actually hear what the words are. And again, you have to listen closely because they make it purposefully worded so that when you read it, you don't think that it really applies to you, but it does. All right, let's get started. And the other thing, I was working on some confessions this morning. So for those of you who have already said hello, yours are ready. Thank you very much. I apologize for the delay. I'm working on two computers now. In nomine Dei, matronam nostrae, Dei Iesum Christum, et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Let us place ourselves in the presence of the Most Holy Trinity, and in Catholic contemplation, humbly venerate the Divine Family. Most Holy and Venerable Trinity, one Divine Family, I believe that Thou art here present. I venerate Thee with the deepest humility. I render to Thee with my whole heart the homage which is due to Thee. O Most Holy Trinity, I firmly believe that Thou art one divine being, one God, three divine beings. Dea matronam nostrae, et Deum Iesum Christum, et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. In relying on Thine infinite goodness and promises, I hope to obtain the pardon of my sins, the help of Thy grace, and life everlasting, through the merits of Deum Iesum Christum, et Deum Matronam Nostrae. O most Holy Trinity, I love Thee above all things with my whole heart and soul, because Thou art all good and worthy of all love. I love my neighbor as myself for love of Thee, and I forgive all who have injured me, and ask pardon of all whom I have injured. Let us thank the most Holy Trinity for the many graces that we receive, and offer ourselves and our sufferings up to heaven, and for the souls in purgatory. O most Holy Trinity, I most humbly thank Thee for all the favors Thou hast bestowed upon me to the present moment. It is again thanks to Thy bounty that I should live to see this day, and I desire to employ it solely in Thy service. I consecrate to Thee all my thoughts, words, actions, and sufferings of this day. Sanctify them, that there may be none that is not animated by Thy love, or that would not tend to Thy greater glory. Let us make a firm resolution to avoid evil and to do good, and let us beg of the most Holy Trinity the graces which are necessary to us. O most Holy Trinity, Thou knowest my weakness, and that I am unable to do anything good without the help of Thy grace. Deny me not Thy grace, proportionate to my necessities. Give me strength to avoid everything which Thou forbiddest, to practice the good which Thou hast commanded, and enable me patiently to bear all the trials which it may please Thee to send me. O Dea Matronam Nostrae, Mother of God, I place myself under Thy protection. I throw myself with confidence into the arms of Thy compassion. Be to me, O Mother of Mercy, my refuge in distress, my consolation in suffering, now and at the hour of my death. O most Holy Trinity, as envisioned by St. Lucia as the most Holy Trinitarian Theophany, Dea Matronam Nostrae, Deum Iesum Christum, et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. I am heartily sorry for having offended Thee, and I detest all my sins, because I dread the loss of heaven and the pains of hell, but most of all because they offended they offend thee, O most holy Trinity, who are all good and deserving of all my love. I firmly resolve, with the help of thy grace, to confess my sins, to do penance, and to amend my life. I want to make sure I have all the lights on. All right, let's see who else is there. Good day, Denise. And yes, CJ, you're quite welcome. I have your scapulars ready too. I have to get them in an envelope, get them out to you. And please continue your prayers for CJ's special intention. Okay, HJR 192 of June 5th, 1933 is entitled Joint Resolution to Suspend the Gold Standard and Abrogate the Gold Clause, June 5th, 1933. It's interesting how I heard Trump talk about the time period before 1933, 1913, when he said it was the most prosperous time in our country. Well, no, it was since the establishment anyway. It's very interesting because that was the time before the international bankers were able to sneak in this system. And I'm really curious what they're planning. Now, their idea is always to have a gold-backed system. All right, and as we've read with Father Fahey, that's a pretty stable one. However, it still can be very disadvantageous to the people. Because if you noticed over the last 10, 15 years, the bankers have known that this system was going to collapse, which it's in the process right now. And it has been for quite some time, like through 3 bankruptcies. However, they all have been, including countries and banking systems, have been accumulating and purchasing gold because they know this is what's coming. They're going to end up with a system backed by gold. So now they can, if they have substantial amounts of gold, again, control the monetary supply. And this is where my idea of a Catholic monarchy comes in to say, wait a minute, the people should have the gold if you're going to do a gold-backed system. And then the banks start out with a very small amount or an equal amount compared to, like, let's say, a family. And then through their reputation as honest people, the people with the gold could then deposit their gold there if they felt that it was safer there or more convenient. And at that point, they could issue certificates or notes, not notes, certificates that verify the exact amount that they have in gold on deposit there. So and it would be a fee that you would pay the bank for them to provide you with this paper and this accounting for you. So we have to watch this very closely, but more importantly, we have to pray for a Catholic monarchy. Because remember, this is how it all started from the very beginning with the Rothschilds. They controlled the issuance of money through accumulating gold and lending out more than what they had through deception. All right. Okay. So HJR Resolution 192, 73rd Congress, First Session. Joint resolution to assure uniform value to the coins and currencies of the United States. which is an interesting thing to start out with. Whereas the holding of or dealing in gold affect the public interest and therefore subject to proper regulation and restriction. And whereas the existing emergency, which they created, has disclosed that provisions of obligations, keyword here is obligations, that provisions of obligations which purport to give the obligee a right, okay, so the person who's supposed to receive the obligation or the result of the contract and the product, if you will, a right to require payment in gold, or the producer, that's what the obligee was. Let's say an obligee is a carpenter. Okay, so he makes a table and he sells it, and now the purchaser is the obliger to the obligee, which purport to give the obligee a right to require payment in gold or of a particular kind of coin or currency of the United States. Okay, so that carpenter says, well, actually, the purchaser, let's just say, well, I'm going to pay you in candles. And the obligee can accept that or not. He has that right. But he cannot require the payment in gold or a particular kind of coin or currency of the United States, or in an amount of money of the United States measured thereby, obstruct the power of Congress to regulate the value of money of the United States, and are inconsistent with the declared policy of the Congress to maintain at all times the equal power of every dollar coined or issued by the United States in the markets and in the payment of debts. Okay, so he could accept it, payment in gold, but it couldn't be in a coin or currency of the United States. So that's where things got really confusing, and they wanted to make it easy. Deceptively easy, that is. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate of the House of the Representatives of the United States of America and Congress assembled that A. Every provision contained in or made with respect to any obligation which purports to give the obligee a right to require payment in gold or a particular kind of coin or currency or in any amount in money of the United States, measured thereby, is declared to be against public policy, and no such provision shall be contained in or made with respect to any obligation hereafter incurred. Every obligation heretofore or hereafter incurred, whether or not any such provisions is contained therein or made with respect thereto. Okay, so all that heretofore and respect thereto, I'm going to read that again without all that. Every obligation shall be discharged upon payment, dollar for dollar, in any such coin or currency which at the time of payment is legal tender for public and private debts. So then you got to look up what legal tender is. Any such provision contained in any law authorizing obligations to be issued by or under authority of the United States is hereby repealed. But the repeal of any such provision shall not invalidate any other provision or authority contained in such law. So basically, they just threw the Constitution out again because they were bankrupt. They could, because the Constitution was the contract or the agreement or the rules for that government, not for the people. Okay, so that constitution was null and void. That's why they could do this. As used in this resolution, the term obligation means an obligation, including every obligation of and to the United States accepting currency. Of and to the United States, payable in money of the United States. And the term coin or currency means coin or currency of the United States, including Federal Reserve notes and circulating notes of Federal Reserve banks and national banking associations. Section 2. The last sentence of paragraph 1 of subsection B of section 43 of the Act entitled, "An Act to Relieve the Existing National Economic Emergency by Increasing Agricultural Purchasing Power to Raise Revenue for Extraordinary Expenses Incurred by Reason of Such Emergency, to provide emergency relief with respect to agricultural indebtedness, to provide for the orderly liquidation of joint stock land banks and for other purposes, approved May 12, 1933, is amended to read as follows." This is important too. Quote, "All coins and currencies of the United States, including Federal Reserve notes and circulating notes of Federal Reserve banks and national banking associations." See, it's all in the definitions of these things. "Heretofore or hereafter coined or issued shall be legal tender for all debts, for public and private, public charges, taxes, duties, and dues, except that gold coins, when below the standard weight and limit of tolerance provided by law for the single piece, shall be legal tender only at valuation in proportion to their actual weight." Again, if you have small amounts, they're not going to bother with you. Approved June 5th, 1933 at 4:30 p.m. Okay. We're going to talk about an item tendered for discharge of debt. The instrument tendered to the bank and negotiated to the United States Treasury for settlement. Okay, the instrument tendered to the bank and negotiated to the United States Treasury for settlement is an obligation of the United States under Title 18 U.S.C. Section 8, representing, as the definition provides, a certificate of indebtedness drawn upon an authorized officer of the United States, in this case, the Secretary of the Treasury. So you have to start to learn what notes and negotiable instruments are. So when a negotiable instrument is sent in, and the drawee is the officer of the United States, the Secretary of the Treasury, it becomes issued under an act of Congress. In the case of Public Law 7310, HGR 192 of 1993, and Title 31 U.S. 3123 and 31 U.S. 5103, and by treaty. In this case, the United Nations Convention on International Bills of Exchange and International Promissory Notes, and the Universal Postal Union, headquartered in Bern, Switzerland. Okay, so there's three different large groups, if you will, who deal with these instruments. And so they're trying to make them all fit, this new law fit in all there, and make it so that the people can't understand it or utilize their remedy. HJR 192 further declares, and again, the reason that they have to give you this remedy is because as collateral, they are using the birth certificate from your birth and your future labor and value as a human, as a being, as a God-created entity. HJR 192 further declares, quote, every provision which purports to give the obligee a right to require payment in gold or a particular kind of currency, coin or currency, is declared to be against public policy, and no such provision shall be made with respect to any obligation hereafter incurred. Making way for discharge and recovery on U.S. corporate public debt due to principals and sureties of the United States, providing as public policy for the discharge of every obligation, including every obligation of and to the United States, dollar for dollar, allowing those backing the U.S. financial reorganization, you and I, to recover on it by discharging an obligation they owed to the United States or its subcorporate entities against that same amount of obligation of the United States owed to them, thus providing the remedy for the discharge and orderly recovery of equity interest on U.S. corporate public debt due the sureties, principals, and holders of the United States. Discharging that portion of the public debt without expansion of credit, debt, or obligation on the United States or these its prime creditors. Now, we're going to get to this in very important point. It was intended to satisfy equitable remedy to, but gaining for each bearer of such note discharge of obligation equivalent in value dollar for dollar to any and all lawful money of the United States. Okay, so to clarify that, in the interest accruing debt monetary system we have in America today, debts are not paid, but are simply transferred to someone else by commercial transactions, and the interest on that debt continues to accrue, even when you pay with Federal Reserve notes, because it's a note, okay, it's another debt instrument. Payable to the non-federal Federal Reserve Bank, hence the federal national debt continues to expand. Any charge, this is important, any charge that is accepted for value per a mutual offset credit exemption exchange is extinguished at once. Okay, it doesn't move any further, it ends. Therefore, interest on that debt ceases to accrue and add to the federal national debt. As charges of debt continue to be accepted for value and extinguished in this way, instead of being merely discharged and passed on to someone else, the federal national debt will gradually be reduced, charge by charge, when acceptance for value is adopted by a critical mass of acceptors. The federal national debt may eventually and peacefully become extinct. And I'm going to end there. What's happening is they're starting to see that people are doing this, and so I think this is why Trump is coming in here or they're having him. He's just the pawn. They're having him, the bankers, do this and get this settled before it gets to that point where the national debt is settled. Say they want to keep that national debt. If the bankers can keep that national debt, they still have control. Okay, and that's the key thing. And again, I don't like to bring up Hitler and Germany and whatnot, but they were able to throw off the yoke of international bankers and interest in the early 30s. And that's why Judaism declared war on Germany prior to World War II, because they had thrown off that yoke. And that yoke is a tremendous thing. It is non-Catholic. It is evil. So we must do the same. And I'm perfectly happy with my life and myself, so that I will not off myself. Just so you know, it goes against my religion. And so let's get started with Mass and concentrate and pray and thank the most Holy Trinity for the gifts of wisdom and all those virtues. Yes, I think they say that I will not end myself anymore now, right? I love the way people come up with these weird things because they're afraid to say certain words. Deum vobiscum et quoque pote. Oremos. O most Holy Trinity, the Creator and Redeemer of all the faithful, grant to the souls of thy servants and handmaids the remission of all their sins, that they may obtain by loving prayers the forgiveness which they have always desired, who livest and reignest with thee, one divine family, forever and ever. Suscipe Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum hoc Immaculatum Hostium, quam ego indignius famulos tuus offediti Deum meum vivum et verum, pro in mirabilibus peccatis et offensionibus et negligentis meis, et pro omnibus circumstantibus et pro omnibus fidelibus catholicorum vivis atque defunctis ut mihi et idis proficiat salutem. Deum, qui cum nae substantia dignitatem mirabilitu condidisi et mirabilis reformasti da nobis spiritus atque divina mysterium, eis divinitatis esse consortis qui unitatis nostrae, qui edidi natis es patriceps Deum Iesum Christum Filium, qui tecum vivit et reinat in unitate Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Offerimus tibi Deum calicem saitatis tuum de peccatis clementium, ut aspectu divina majestatis tuae, pro nostra totius mundi salute cum adoris suavitatis ascendat. In spiritu meditatis et in animo contrito suscipiam rota Deum Iesum Christum, et sec fiat sacrificium nostrum ec aspectu tu hodie ut placiat tibi Deum matronam nostrae Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Veni Sanctificator, Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, et sanctificite blata prosequendo, et accepere hoc sacrificium tuo sancto nomini praeparatum. Suscipe Sancta Trinitas in cobrationem cum tibi afferimus amorum passionis, resurrectionis et ascensionis Deum Iesum Christum, et in honorem Deum matronam nostrae et Papa Peter Sanctorum et Istorum et omnem Sanctorum, Uridis proficiat ad honorem nobis autem ad salutem et idi pro nobis intercede de nim intercalis, por memoram agimus interis periendum Christum Deum nostrum. Orate ut meam ac vestrum sacrificium acceptabile fiat apud Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Suscipia Deum Iesum Christum sacrificium de manibus tuis et laudam et gloriam nomini sui ad utilitatem quoque nostram totiusque ecclesiae suae sanctae. Deum vobiscum, et quoque pote, surusum corda, habemus ad Deum, gratias agamus Deum nostrum, dignum justum est. Te getot limitissimi mater et pater et Deum matronum nostrae, Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, Deum Iesum Christum Filium tuum Deum nostrae, supplices rogamus ad petimus, uti accepta habeas et sanctificas, haec sanctam sacrificium irrigata, in primis quae tibi afferimus pro ecclesiam tuum sanctum catholicam, quam pacificare custodire ad honore et regere dineris tot orbi terrarum aeque catholicae. Memento Deum famulorum famulum catuorum. We pray for the sick and the suffering. We pray for Luis Cantu, Robert Dosco, Sr. and Jr., Katie Gage, R.M., Neil and Lively, Maria Josephina Mose, Letitia, Mindy Claret, Mark Jr., Henry, Barbara, and Benedict Santa Croce, Robert Santa Croce, Mr. Nobody, the Cantu and Duarte families, Michaela McLarnon and family, Sarah, Becky, Jenna, Lena, Lori, Aaron and family, Maria and the Line Weber family, the Kendrick, Dosco, Nye, Tafour, Began, Wolf, and Kane families, and all their intentions. We pray for Mr. Nobody to receive the funding and strength needed to complete the first Sede Vacantis Catholic Council office in Monastery of Illinois. We pray for an end to all governmental allowance or sanctioning of abortion, transgenderism, transhumanism, child trafficking, child abuse of any kind, anywhere, place, or time. We pray for the establishment of a Catholic monarchy with a sound Catholic system of labor, human value, medium of exchange with no usury and no papers as money. We pray for courageous men to step forward as leaders of this Catholic society and usher it in peacefully and with strength. We ask for the conversion of all sinners trapped in a state of mortal sin, especially the ignorant. We ask for the effects of the satanic ritual and Black Mass held on June 29, 1963, between the Vatican and the Masonic Lodge in South Carolina be reversed and the spell destroyed forever. We pray for the elimination of all harmful radiation waves in our air and in our homes. We pray for the ceasing of the use of any kind of energy weapon against the people in their homes for selfish gains. We ask you to continue to block all forms of Freemasonry and its influence in our society. All this we ask in accordance with the Most Holy Trinity's divine holy will. Et omnium circumstantium quorum tibi fides cognita est, et nota devotio, pro quibus tibi efferimus, veruque tibi offront hoc sacrificium laudis prosis visque omnibus, pro redemptione animarum suarum prospe salutis et calamitatis suae, tibi credunt vota sua, aeterno Deum vivo et vero, communicantes et mamonem morantes in primis gloriosae, semper Deum matronam nostrae, et Deum Iesum Christum, et beatorum martyrium tuorum, Papa Sancte Petri, et Sancte Lucia, et Sancte Jacinta, et Sancte Francisco, et Sancte Juan Diego, et omnium sanctorum tuorum quorum, meritis praecibus quae cancedas ut in omnibus protectionis tuae moneam exilio, pediendum Christum Deum nostrum. Quam oblationem te Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum in omnibus, consecratum acceptabilum quae feceri dignitis ut nobis corpum, et sanguinem fiat edictissimi filium tuum Deum Iesum Christum. Qui pridie quam pateretur recepit panem in sanctus aquaris manus suas, et elevatis oculis in calamate Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum suum omnipotentem tibi gratias agens, consecravit frege dedique lumis vidicens acipit et manducate ex hoc omnes. Hoc est enim corpus meum. Siminimur postquam ceremoniae est accipiens ad hoc praeclarum calicem in sanctus aquam lis manus suas et in tibi gratias agens Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Consecrave dedique lumis vidicens accipit et bibite ex omnes. Hic est enim calix sanguinis mei, mysterium fidei, quae pro nobis et pro multis effundetur in remissionem peccatorum. Aequo est cum feceritis in homo facitis. unde et memoris Deum nos servituis et plebs tua sancta Iustum Christum filium tuum Deum nostrae. Tambe et passionis nec non et in feris resurrectionis, sed et in caelos gloriosae, ascensionis afferimus praeclarae maiestati tuae de tuis donis actatis, super quae propitio accere novutur respicieri digneris. Supplices teragamus Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum ibi hic preferit per manus tuum ut quod ex occatoris participationis sacrosanctam Deum Filium tuum corpus et sanguinum sincerimus omni sanctificatione cae lestia gratia Dei per amor per Deum Christum Deum nostrae. We pray for those who have died, and we especially pray for Don Scott, for whom this Mass is being offered. Ipsis Deum et omnibum in Christum quiscentibum locum refigerii lucis et paucis ut autor gesta per amor per Deum Christum Deum nostrum, per cum hic omnia Deum Iesum Christum semper bona creas, sanctificas, vivicas, consecratis et praestas nobis. Per ipsum et cum ipso et in ipso, est tibi Deum Autor omnipotenti in unitate Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, omnis honor et gloria. Ave Dea, matronam nostrae, gratia plena Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum tecum, sanctam tuum in mulieribus, Dea matronam nostrae, materam Deum Iesum Christum, ora pro nobis peccatoribus, nunc et in hora mortis nostrae. Libera nos quaesimus Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum ab omnibus malis, praeteritis, praesentibus et futuris, et intercedende beata et gloriosa, semper Deum matronam nostrae, cum Papa Petrum Sanctorum et omnibus sanctis, da propitius pacem in Deus nostris. Ut ope misericordiae tuae aduiti et peccato, simus semper liberi et ab omni perturbatione securi. Per iendum Deum nostrum, Iesum Christum Filium tuum Deum nostrum, qui tecum vivit et reinat in unitate Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, per aeternam. Pax Deum Iesum Christum sit semper vobiscum et quoque apud. Haec mixtio consecratio corporis et sanguinis Deum Iesum Christum fiat ecipentibus nobis in et salutem aeternam. Pax tecum et quoque apud te. Deum Iesum Christum, qui ex voluntate Deum matronam nostrae, cooperante Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, per mortem tuam mundum vivificasti, libera me per hoc sacrosanctum corpus et sanguinum, tuum ab omnibus iniquitatibus meis et universis malis. Et fac me tuis semper in harare mandatis, et numquam separare permittas. Qui cum eodem Deum matronam nostrae et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum, vivis et regnam aeternam perceptio corporis tui Deum Iesum Christum, quod ego indinius sumere praesmo non mihi proveniat, in judicium economationem, sed pro tua pietate prosit mihi, ad tudum benedici corporis et ad mediram principiam dam. Qui vivis et reinas cum Deum matronam nostrae in unitate Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Panem celestem accipiem et nomen Deum Iesum Christum invocabo. Dea matronam nostrum non sunt dignius, ut intus et meis in tapete quaeros in paternum mea. Deum Iesum Christum non sunt dignius, ut intus et meis in tapete quaeros in paternum mea. Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum non sunt dignius, ut intus et meis in tapete quaeros in paternum mea. Corpus Deum nostrum Iesum Christum custodia eternam mea. quidratibum Deum Iesum Christum promnibus quaerutu vit mihi, caricem solitaris accipium et nomen Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum immocabo, laudans immocabo Deum matronam nostra et ave inimicis meis salus ero. Sanguis Deum nostrum Iesum Christum custodiet anima meam. Cordoris sumus Deum Iesum Christum pidamente capiam et timere et aprae fit nobis remedium sempiternum. Corpus tuum Deum Iesum Christum quod samsit sanguis quam petavi et hediat visceribus meis et praesta ut in me non remaniat, scelero macula quem pierat sancta reficero sacramenta. Deum vobiscum, et quoque pote, oremus. May the prayer of thy suppliants profit the souls of thy servants and handmaids who beseech thee, O most holy Trinity, that thou mayest free them from all sins and make them sharers in thy redemption, who livest and reignest with thee, one divine family, forever and ever. Deum vobiscum, et quoque pote, ite mises, Deum gratia. Procia tibi sancta Trinitam obsequium servitutis mea et paresta ut sacrificium, quod oculis tuae majestatis in nos auctoritatis et acceptabile mique et omnibus, pro quibus sidut optolicite miserante propitiabile per Christum Deum nostrum. Sanctificat vos omnipotens Deum, Matronam et Filium et Spiritum Sanctum, Deum Matronam nostra et Deum Iesum Christum et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Gracias. O most holy Trinity, I believe, I venerate, I hope, and I love thee. I beg of thee pardon for those who do not believe, do not venerate, do not hope, and do not love thee. Most holy Trinity, I venerate thee profoundly, and I offer to thee the most precious body, blood, soul, and divinity of Deum Iesum Christum present here in reparation for the outrageous, sacrilegious, and indifference by which he himself is offended. And through the infinite merits of his most sacred heart and the immaculate heart of Deum Matronam Nostrae, I beg of thee the conversion of poor sinners. In nomine Deum Matronam Nostrae, Deum Iesum Christum, et Deum Patrum Spiritum Sanctum. Gracias. Thank you for coming today and listening. I know that was a little bit of a struggle, it's kind of tedious, all of that deceptive money terminology, right? Um, but it's important that we have some sort of grasp of what's happening and why. We can't separate ourselves from that. It's ingrained in what we need to do with buying food and things that we need to survive and to live here. So and it's also ingrained into the community in the form of the government. So we have to get involved, and we have to learn more and teach our children that as well. Um, Gen Z is whatever that is, the youth. They're getting it, they're understanding it, and so we appreciate their thirst for knowledge and getting away from getting these things or giving them to their children. That's reducing, and teaching them about the truths of the Catholic faith. Hello, Gabriel. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Brazil. Yes. I do want to travel. I often wish that the Most Holy Trinity would somehow allow me to go from country to country to visit each and every one of you who have visited me here. That would be a tremendous blessing and sanctification on my part. I'd love to do that, and to bring. It's kind of a selfish motive of mine, really, but I would love to bring you the Most Holy Eucharist as well as the original Mass. We'll pray for that. I'm not dead yet. All right, and Greg's coming on board once he gets settled back home. His job did not work out in South Carolina. Apparently, South Carolina still has mega effects from that thing that I read about, where their Masonic lodge teamed up with the Vatican. That's a real bad thing to do, to do that satanic black mass in union with your state lodge. But we can overcome that. We have a lot more territory. Please go and sanctify all those who you meet. Time for coffee. Have a great day.